The 5-Star Driver Training video series was developed by Master Driving Instructor John Cullington. These testimonials are of clients who hired Mr. Cullington through his driving school in Fresno, California. What they experienced was the Cullington driving concepts. It is these concepts that makes the 5-Star Driver videos far superior to anything offered in America.
I wouldn't have anybody else but Elite Drivers Training Services teach my children to drive. From the minute John showed up, he put my son and myself at ease, and we got in the car right away, and we went through the neighborhood, and within the first few minutes we pulled over, got out of the car, and John showed my son some physical examples of how to apply things on the road, had some little exercises that were fun. And I know at first my son probably thought, what are we doing? I want to drive. But those principles that he laid during those exercises, we applied within 30 minutes. We were out on Herndon, almost 5 o'clock traffic, and my son was out there driving for the first time on Herndon. And I, in the back seat, was shocked. But he did great. He changed lanes comfortably. John brought humor to the lesson and put my son at ease and put me at ease. And I honestly never felt my heart race once. It was a wonderful experience, and we laughed and enjoyed the entire time. I've told all of my friends about Elite Drivers Training Services, and I've let them know everything that I learned at the seminar. I've told them probably in too much detail everything that we learned on our first driving lesson and just how it's changed me as a driver and how well my son is doing. I'm just so impressed with the skills that he has, the attention that he pays, and his perfect balance between confidence and caution on the road. Thanks, Elite.
I'm Raika Salur. I'm 17 years old. I started to go through the driver's instruction and driver's ed and stuff like that 8 months ago. I started my behind the wheel instruction with Drive America. I took 6 hours with them, and it didn't give me any good experience, and it didn't teach me anything because all I was doing was that I was just driving the instructor around. I would say the language barrier and lack of verbal ability was one of the other problems that I had with the other instructors, that they weren't really teaching me anything anyways. But anyways, what I learned, what I was doing was just like making wrong right turns and left turns, and all they were telling me was like it was a white turn, it was a fast turn, or it was you just did it wrong or you messed it up. So okay, I know that I messed it up. Now how should I fix it? All they were telling me that you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this. How should I fix this? How should I get rid of those mistakes? Elite Drivers Training Services was the one who actually taught me how to not make those mistakes, and gave me the strategies to how to make right turns, how to make left turns, how to drive, how to back up. I got the strategies out of it. I got the skills, and I finally learned how to not make those mistakes. To compare other schools with Elite, I would say that the other schools were just telling me what to do, and I was just a personal driver for them. However, the Elite was the school who actually taught me what to do and how to not make mistakes and how to get over all those distractions. They had me to drive through the mountains, freeways, downtown Fresno, get over all the distractions around those places.
Heck, I got in 3 accidents in 3 months, and I thought I was a good driver. And you know, you think you're on a level like this here, but actually Elite puts you up here.
Compared to my friends, I think I'm less aggressive on the road, and I really know how to keep my space because John has taught me to do that and controlling the people behind me.
My name is Steve Antonino, and I'm an insurance agent, independent agent. Well, when my daughter turned 16, my wife and I were looking for a driver's training school to start the process. And asked a neighbor friend who had just gone through it, and they recommended Elite Teen Drivers. And it was the best decision that we could have made. When I first rode along with my daughter, it was pretty much a formality. I was going to be there for her and so that she would feel comfortable. But what I found out was it was the right thing to do because I learned so much about the right way to drive. Because now we knew exactly what we needed to do to help her, to kind of follow the same training that she was being taught even after the first lesson. So, because it was totally different than the way we learned how to drive. And I think I remember learning early on aim high in steering, but that was only the part of it. What John teaches is that looking ahead and looking above everything gives you a better perspective of more than just the steering aspect, but the whole entire driving concept. So, he had her looking beyond the traffic, and that was keeping her peripheral vision ahead and more keen in the way of driving. On the second driving lesson right along, we went straight to the mountains. And John was teaching her not only to drive in mountains and really to be not looking at the road, but looking ahead for the turns. And also she learned about what her car can do. And that was real important, that, this car has got brakes and steering and acceleration, and you need to use them all when you're in the mountains. So it was surprisingly, it was her second lesson, and we were, in the mountains. So she did a great job based on his training. She was able to handle it real well. Also on the second lesson, we went from the mountains to the freeways. So right away, she's going on and off the freeway and keeping up the pace and watching for emerging traffic. And so it was a great experience for her second time around to be on the freeway. And we were on the freeways at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock traffic. So this was, for me on the back seat, I was scared to death. But John had her under control, and she handled it very well. If the Collington driving concepts were the standard for driver's training, we'd be a lot safer on our roads today, all throughout the country, because this is the way to learn how to drive. This concept is something that people would understand, that in driving a vehicle, that you're just not looking at objects, you're looking at spaces, and creating spaces so that you have options, or it's the safest way to learn how to drive.
What I read in this book was nothing that I had ever heard about driving before. They were all concepts that were new to me, but very valuable. It was like common sense that I just hadn't connected with before. After reading this book, it really helped the time behind the wheel for my son be more of a driving session rather than me yelling at him session. It's changed just the way the experience has been for both of us.
Through my experience and my daughter's experience, I am a true believer in elite teen drivers. I tell everybody that I know whose kids are 15 and a half, 16, they've got to call elite teen drivers. I'm a staunch believer, and I will continue to promote elite teen drivers as the only place to go for training.
Thanks, Elite.